He thought he was in control. A routine traffic stop. Just another night on patrol. But what happened next would shatter his world. A powerful man wrongly accused. A cop blinded by prejudice. A system that was never meant to be fair. This isn't just a story. It's a reckoning. And the ending? You won't see it coming. Don't forget to subscribe to Racism Watchdog and turn on notifications to follow this powerful story and stay updated on the next chapter. The night was quiet. The road stretched endlessly into the darkness, and the only sound was the rhythmic hum of tires against asphalt. Judge Malcolm Bryant, a well-respected federal judge, was finally heading home after a grueling day in court. He loosened his tie with one hand, letting out a breath as he glanced at the clock. 11:47 p.m. It had been a long day, but soon he'd be home. But fate had other plans. Suddenly, red and blue lights flooded his rearview mirror. A piercing siren cut through the silence, making his heart jump. He frowned, quickly checking his speedometer. 52 and a 55. No traffic violations. His car registration was up to date. No broken taillights. So why was he being pulled over? Malcolm signaled and slowly pulled onto the shoulder of the deserted highway. His grip tightened on the steering wheel as he exhaled, gathering his thoughts. Then, a heavy knock on his driver's side window. Malcolm turned and found himself staring up at a stern-looking Officer Dan Hargrove. Tall, broad-shouldered, and scowling as if he had already made up his mind about who Malcolm was. The kind of officer that didn't just enforce the law. He played judge, jury, and executioner on the spot. License and registration, Hargrove barked. His voice was cold, void of courtesy. Malcolm remained composed, reaching for his wallet with measured movements. "Officer, may I ask why I was stopped?" Hargrove's jaw clenched. "Wrong answer." "I said license and registration. Now." Malcolm nodded, keeping his movements slow, deliberate. He retrieved his ID and the registration from his glove compartment. As he handed them over, he saw a flicker of something in the officer's eyes. Confusion, maybe. Annoyance? It was as if Hargrove expected something different. Then, without even looking at the documents, the officer's scowl deepened. "This car doesn't belong to you." Malcolm's brow furrowed. "Excuse me?" "I said." Hargrove stepped closer, his shadow stretching across Malcolm's lap. "This car is reported stolen." A slow chill ran down Malcolm's spine. "What?" "This is my car," Malcolm said, his voice steady. "My name is on the registration." But Hargrove wasn't listening. He leaned into the window, eyes narrowing. "Step out of the vehicle." Malcolm exhaled through his nose, a lawyer's patience restraining the anger bubbling inside him. "I'd like to clarify something first," he said. "If this car was reported stolen, I have a right to know when and by whom. Can you check that information?" Hargrove's lip curled. He didn't like being challenged. "This isn't a debate," he snapped. "Get out of the car. Now." Malcolm's fingers twitched against the steering wheel. He knew the law, knew his rights, but he also knew men like this officer, men who didn't care about the law when they thought they could get away with bending it. And then, a second patrol car pulled up. The new officer, Officer Ryan Walker, approached, his hand resting on his holster. Unlike Hargrove, he didn't come in with immediate hostility. He seemed uncertain, hesitant even. "Problem here?" Walker asked. "Stolen vehicle." Hargrove responded immediately. "Drivers resisting." Walker looked at Malcolm, then at the ID in Hargrove's hand. "Sir, what's your name?" Walker asked. Malcolm didn't break eye contact. "Judge Malcolm Bryant." Walker's eyebrows lifted slightly, a flash of realization crossing his face. Maybe he recognized the name. Maybe he had heard of Malcolm before. But before he could say anything, Hargrove scoffed, laughed even. "Oh, now you're a judge," he mocked. He turned to Walker. "Hear that? We got ourselves a federal judge in a stolen car." Malcolm remained calm, but inside anger was coiling like a loaded spring. "This is my car," he repeated, his tone firm. "Run the plates. Call it in." But Hargrove wasn't interested in calling it in. "Step out." Malcolm made a decision. He wasn't going to be bullied. "Officer, if you don't verify my identity before escalating this, you'll be making a very serious mistake." For a second, just a brief second, Hargrove hesitated. Then his hand moved to his gun. The world slowed. Walker shifted, uncertain. "Dan." But Hargrove ignored him. Malcolm froze. Everything was unraveling. Hargrove's fingers rested on the grip of his weapon. His stance shifted. A choice was about to be made. And then, love this video? Smash that subscribe button and hit the share icon right now to help grow this community. Turn on notifications so you never miss a new video. Comment below with what you want to see next. I read every reply. Every sub and share helps me create more content you love. Thanks for being awesome. Judge Malcolm Bryant barely had time to process what was happening before Officer Dan Hargrove yanked open his car door. I said, "Step out." Before Malcolm could move, Hargrove grabbed his arm and wrenched him out of the vehicle. "Hey, there's no need for that," Malcolm protested, stumbling as the officer slammed him against the hood of his own car. His cheek pressed against the cold metal, the flashing red and blue lights painting the scene in chaos. Hargrove patted him down roughly, as if expecting to find a weapon. "Put your hands behind your back," he ordered. Malcolm clenched his jaw. "Officer, I am complying, but I need you to understand." "Shut up." Hargrove shoved him harder. "You're under arrest." "For what?" "Resisting." Malcolm exhaled sharply. He knew the game being played. This was about power, control. His eyes flicked to Officer Ryan Walker, the younger cop who had arrived as backup. Walker stood a few feet away, his gaze flickering between the ID he had just seen and the situation unfolding before him. Walker hesitated. His hand hovered over his radio. "Dan, I think we should." "Stay out of this," Hargrove snapped. "This is my stop." Walker looked conflicted but didn't push back. His silence was deafening. The cold bite of metal snapped around Malcolm's wrists. Handcuffs. Unbelievable. He had spent his career fighting for justice, for fair treatment under the law, and now he was being treated like a criminal. He was shoved into the back of the squad car, the doors slamming shut with finality. Hargrove smirked as he got into the driver's seat. "Looks like the law ain't on your side tonight, Judge." Malcolm stared straight ahead, his heartbeat pounding in his ears. This wasn't over. A few feet away, a bystander was filming. The shaky footage captured everything: the aggressive arrest, the refusal to check Malcolm's ID, the way Hargrove had escalated the situation without cause. "Yo, this some real messed up," the voice behind the camera murmured. "They don't even know who he is." Within an hour, the video was on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Within 2 hours, it was trending. #ForBryant. #Cops Going Wild. The public was furious. The comments exploded. "A federal judge. If this can happen to him, what do you think happens to the rest of us? They're trying to make this disappear. We see and to let them. This is why we demand police reform. Who's gonna check these guys?" Meanwhile, at the local police department, officers scrambled to control the narrative. "We need a report. Now." The official statement was quickly thrown together. Suspect was pulled over in a suspected stolen vehicle. Became aggressive. Resisted arrest. Officer followed standard procedure. But they didn't expect what would happen next. Sitting on the cold metal bench inside the holding cell, Malcolm pressed his palms together, trying to stay calm. The cell smelled of bleach and old sweat. The murmurs of other detainees filled the air, but Malcolm sat quietly, eyes fixed forward. "Yo," a man in the next cell nudged him. "You really a judge?" Malcolm nodded. "Man," the guy chuckled bitterly. "They really don't care who you are, huh?" Malcolm didn't answer. Would his status protect him? Or was this bigger than just one night? Then a familiar voice echoed from outside the cell. "Where is he? I need to see my client." Malcolm stood, his lawyer. Relief flooded his chest until a guard blocked the attorney from entering. "He's not allowed visitors." "What? That's unconstitutional. He has a right to legal representation." The guard didn't blink. Orders had been given. Back at the precinct, Officer Hargrove was feeling the heat. His phone buzzed with texts. He checked Twitter and saw his name starting to circulate. Then his desk phone rang. "Yeah." A cold voice on the other end. "Fix this. Now." Hargrove swallowed. When Malcolm's daughter, Maya Bryant, saw the video, her hands trembled. She was a law student just months away from the bar exam. And now, the man who inspired her to fight for justice was sitting in a jail cell like a common criminal. She wouldn't let this stand. Maya called every journalist she knew. She lit up social media. They messed with the Wrong family. After 48 hours of public pressure, the department finally agreed to release Malcolm Bryant. They couldn't keep a federal judge behind bars, not with the world watching. The precinct was surrounded by reporters when Malcolm was let out. Flashing cameras, microphones shoved in his face. A news anchor spoke into her mic. "Judge Bryant is finally free, but the question remains, why was he arrested in the first place?" Malcolm took a deep breath of fresh air. But then, a sudden commotion at the precinct doors. Another officer rushed forward with a stack of papers. A judge, a different one, stood at the top of the steps. And then the words that made everything spiral out of control. "Malcolm Bryant," the official voice boomed, "you are now being charged with obstruction of justice and falsifying legal documents." What? The cameras went wild. The reporters gasped. Malcolm felt his stomach drop. This wasn't over. It was only just beginning. The world exploded in outrage. News anchors debated the case around the clock. The grainy police footage showed everything. Officer Hargrove ignoring the ID, escalating the stop without cause, shoving a sitting federal judge into the squad car like he was a nobody. The nation erupted. CNN headline, "Federal Judge Wrongfully Arrested. Bodycam Footage Contradicts Police Report." Twitter trend, #JusticeForBryant hits 3 million tweets in 24 hours. The governor, forced into action, held a press conference. "I have seen the footage. This is unacceptable. An independent investigation will be launched immediately." Translation? Damage control. The police chief turned his back on Hargrove, distancing himself from the scandal. He acted on his own, the chief claimed in an interview. But Hargrove knew the truth. He wasn't the only dirty cop in the department. Now, they were feeding him to the wolves. Malcolm Bryant should have walked free. The governor, the media, even the mayor were calling for his release. But then, breaking news, Judge Thomas Wexler rules to uphold the felony charge against Judge Malcolm Bryant. A corrupt judge, planted deep in the system, sided with the police. The courtroom was dead silent as the ruling was announced. Malcolm's jaw clenched. His daughter Maya jumped to her feet. "This is a joke." The judge slammed his gavel. "This court is adjourned." Malcolm was still in legal jeopardy. The system wasn't done with him yet. That night, thousands took to the streets. Signs held high, voices loud. Cities across the country erupted in protests. Crowds chanted his name. Justice for Bryant. Justice for all. Police in riot gear pushed back hard. Tear gas, rubber bullets, arrests. The country was on the brink. Officer Ryan Walker sat in front of a live TV audience. The news anchor leaned in. "Officer Walker, what really happened that night?" Ryan's hands trembled. For days he had been pressured to stay silent. Threatened, warned. But now, he couldn't live with himself. "I saw the ID," he admitted, voice shaking. "I knew he was a judge, but Hargrove told me to ignore it." The room went silent. Officer Hargrove. The anchor pushed further. Did he break the law? Walker looked straight at the camera. Yes, the final nail in the coffin. The protest crowd stilled as Maya stepped onto the podium. Cameras flashed. Her voice shook, not with fear but with righteous anger. My father is a judge. He upholds the law. She held up her phone, showing the body cam footage playing in real time. And yet he was treated like this. The crowd erupted. Maya looked into the camera, into the homes of millions watching. This isn't just about my father. This is about every black man who's been stopped for driving the wrong car. This is about every person who's been silenced by the system. This isn't justice. But we will get justice. Cheers filled the air. The nation was watching, waiting, ready. The courtroom doors swung open. Malcolm Bryant stepped inside. The cameras were rolling. The prosecutor smirked. The corrupt judge sat waiting. This was it. His entire future, his career, his freedom was about to be decided. Malcolm took a breath. The bailiff's voice echoed. All rise. Malcolm looked forward. And then, what happens next? Should Officer Hargrove face prison time? Should Bryant fight back legally or take another route? Comment below.